the turn of the tide, I can see an innate desire. Sword in hand, warriors side by side, I can feel it, it burns like fire. Worlds collide, an unstable landscape, side by side, but that's what this man digs. Be it might, and unlikely allegiance, we will fight because that's the best defense. No turning back, for such is our path. This day we find a glorious death. Glorious death. Our goal, our mission is clear, as we ride against a dark empire. By my soul, may the last thing they hear be the roar of this raging fire. Listen, be the savagery mindset. Not today, we'll let loose and find it. Brutal will define our reaction. Rip out the throat of each one in defection. No turning back, for such is our path. This day we find the
Gooding Services has a bundle for all budgets. You can be fully protected with emergency response for just $49.99.
Yo, Joker the Fool here, and this is Braxcast Live once again. Of course, this is a fantastic week. We finally have Alphacore 2. Long awaited. We've been waiting for this for so freaking long, and now we finally have it. So I'm really excited for that. First, going to go through the chat. Of course, we got Andrew in the chat. I did send you a link on Discord if you feel like coming in and chatting about this. That finally happened. We got Bats here. I don't think I've seen you before on stream, so welcome to the stream. Hopefully you have a good time, having a good week, good Friday evening. Of course, Garfield's an absolute regular. Gotta love you. Gotta shout you out. And then we saw Mike Has Bad Knees in the chat, and you were talking about needing a Zalen t-shirt. I did put some links into the chat, but I will share this link right here. We'll add this to the stage. Look at this. We got a Zalen t-shirt. Ooh. And we got another one right here. I think I have this black one, and I like it a lot. I'm not sure. I don't think I have this one. But this is, of course, the Zalen. You got 2 Zalen t-shirts to choose from. I put the links in the chat if you're interested in that. Of course, if you're not, then, that's perfectly okay. But Mike mentioned that, and I know there are Zalen t-shirts, so I sent those links in the chat. Of course, we got Student of God in the chat. Fantastic to see you here as well. But the big news is, of course, Alphacore number 2 finally having launched. Let's see, I mentioned it because Eric was wearing it in the video, and it reminded me. Yeah, no, the Zalen, I mean, I love all the Rippaverse merch. I'm wearing the Irish shirt right now, so it's just, especially on the weekends, I just love to throw my Rippaverse merch on, go to the gym. My Rippaverse hoodie is my workout hoodie, so I wear that when I go to the gym, and it's getting cold up here, guys. So now I'm, it's hoodie weather, which is nice. Because I like it. I'm gonna have to pay more on the gas bill because I'm running the heater now. But it is what it is. But anyways, I love the Rippaverse merch. That is the point I'm trying to make. And I do have, I think, the black Zalen shirt. It's a nice shirt. I like the design of it. Of course, I think it's one of Kanan's designs. And of course, I got the posters back here as well. But the big thing is, of course, Alphacore 2 heading in on closing at that 50K mark. Of course, this base version is $20. I didn't get the I1 at all. Was not in the budget. What I bought really wasn't in the budget. We'll see how this month turns out. Hopefully, I make as much money as I think I am going to this month, and I'll be able to put Alphacore 2 in the budget instead of pulling from savings. But we'll see. Anyways, that doesn't matter. How how much I abuse my wallet to fund my Rippaverse addiction is not what you guys are here for. You guys are here for, of course, the Alphacore number 2. And of course, this is going to be covering the fallout from the first issue. Of course, you guys, if you guys don't remember, the first issue is, of course, dealing with Eagle's Nest getting destroyed by Lillian and Michael cyber hacking it. And then, of course, Wilkins very bravely saved the day, cost him his life, and then just dealing with all of that emotional fallout from the death of a comrade. And then, of course, with the fact that the Flores Park Police Department and the general community of Flores Park is not going to think too highly of the Alphacore after that big of a blunder. So it's going to be really exciting to see where the story goes next, see if Stefania gets integrated to Alphacore with the second issue. So it's going to be really, really interesting. Of course, Horseman probably might make an appearance in this Alphacore number 2. At least it might be alluded to. The way, I did Braxcast number 50 where I interviewed Chuck Dixon, and that kind of gives me the implication that there at least is going to be a little bit of a teaser of Horseman, because I think Horseman and Alphacore are going to cross over a lot. We saw that in number 1, and we're going to see that more in number 2. And of course, welcome to Flores Park as well. But let's get in the chat. Of course, we got Garfield saying that Alphacore hat looks damn good. I'm probably going to get it, and I typically don't wear hats. On most of the hats, I've got a really big cranium. Of course, it doesn't mean anything about any other part of my body. So most of the hats I have from the Rippaverse, they don't really fit me. The Horseman hat, I got it right here. This one fits me really well, and the Yaira hat fits me nice as well. And I like to wear these hats like in the summer if I'm going hiking to protect my head from the sun. and I also just like the it gives you it's a nice aesthetic. But the Horseman hat, the Isom hat, and the Yaira hat are the ones that really fit me well, and I always get the largest size, like the Zalen hat. The other ones, I love their design, but they just don't fit my head right. They're a bit too tight. But this one, like, it's really comfortable. The Yaira hat I have, that one's really comfortable as well. It's in my car. I left it in my car when I went hiking last weekend, and that was a bit of a disaster for me because I got lost. I was in the woods, man, for like half an hour off of the trail, and I thought I was going to be stuck there because I'm in the middle of nowhere with no cell service, and I'm like trying to open maps, like trying to find my way back, and I hear people. I get back on the trail, and then I was able to get back home. By the grace of God. But anyways, this is a really cool looking hat. I certainly do like it. It might be one I buy, but like I said, I have a lot of Rippaverse hats. I've got more than enough. And I've been burned a little bit because I got them as part of like the I Want It All when I was like buying them like that. But I'm not doing this time around, so I am going towards not buying this at all and just being happy with what I have, with what I had. It's a dumb pun. But anyways, Garfield is asking what the favorite cover is. Personally leaning towards D, and of course, I am contractually obligated to say cover A is my favorite cover because you got Braxwell. He's big, he's beautiful, he takes up the scene on this one. So I got the book pack for this one, and I got one signed and graded. I went for this one. I didn't go for the foiled and embossed, which features Ingrid. And it's a cool looking cover, and of course, I'm getting it so I can show it off on the recorded there. And of course, I'll probably read cover D, and I'll keep that D cover around, but we'll see. But anyways, this is definitely my favorite cover. And we've got cover B right here. This is a nice cover as well. Of course, it seems like we got like Criminal there. Of course, Solari being shot at is pretty epic one. I would say so myself. But then we've got cover C, which is Ingrid Valdez. This is the foiled and embossed cover, and I do like this one. And it does, if you look at there, she's got her, I forget exactly what Az named it, but she's got the bike that she has in Chasing Ghosts on this cover. That's the first thing I'm noticing right there, which is really cool. See, I think I ended up with cover C and D. I think those are all good choices. And D, this is the D cover. And I certainly like this cover. Of course, you got this like triple shot of the Alphacore here. You got Braxwell there. You've got Solari. This definitely has like movie poster vibes to me. But to me, I think it's a bit of a weaker cover. I don't think it's bad per se, but I think it's a bit of a weaker cover than the other ones. And like I said, I am definitively, and I'm correct when I say these things, is that cover A is the best cover in my, well, it's my opinion, but it's my correct opinion, guys. Cover C's are becoming the Gooner. I don't think this is not. I can see like if we're going to talk about like Norfolk at number 1, or we're talking like Yaira number 3, justified in saying those are the Gooner covers. But this is not like that sort of material, my friend. It's just not. So it's not Gooner material. I get what you're saying with like the other C covers, like even with the ones you're thinking about, but this one certainly is not like that. I think it's just a cool action shot that happens to feature a woman who's attractive. And I think basically all the Rippaverse, women main characters are attractive, right? Think about Altona, think about Yaira, think about Ingrid. We don't have a bunch of like obese Virgie Tovars in the Rippaverse, which is I'm really grateful for, and I think it definitely has it helps with the appeal, right? Because this is mostly comics are mostly a male audience, right? So and then looking at attractive women, it's just a reality of the situation, my guys. And I think you guys are here for it. I certainly am here for it, but I'm primarily here for the stories. I'm here for the lore. Which I'm really excited for with this one, because this one, like I said, the end of, and we just hit They just said 50K. So Ripaverse slogan is no fat chicks. That is correct. Mike has bad knees, and we're all the better for it. But anyways, we do have, over 50K, over 1,200 books sold. So of course, this is a $20 campaign, or not $20 campaign. Not even. Well, I don't know what I'm saying. The book's only $20. This isn't a campaign. This is a collection. Of course, it's anticipated. It still is a number 2. So Alphacore number 1 made about. We can actually go to the campaigns, right? Because Alphacore was the first non-Ripaverse campaign, and this made $1.3 million in its campaign. Of course, 13,000 total purchasers. So probably, you're sitting around like 15-ish thousand books having been sold. Let's see, we got Jay Krager's comics for sale. Definitely not a sexualized cover. I didn't intend for it to be that way at all. Just a powerful action. So I 100% agree with you, man. And you did a fantastic job. So there certainly are ones that like lean into being like pinups, being, having that, sexual allure, if the best term to use. But that's the one where like you weren't going for that, and I definitely saw that. It's a fantastic cover. And again, if you want to come on talk about it, if not, that's it's all good. But yeah, I mean, I won't want to send the link out in the chat. But yeah, no problem. And thanks for watching the stream. Yeah, it's just teasing it. Awesome cover. Okay, that's what I thought, Mike. Makes sense. But anyways, of course, we're going to have the inevitable people that are going to say like doom and gloom. But first, are going to go bankrupt in the next 2 seconds because it didn't make $1 million in the first nanosecond or whatever, or it probably won't make $1 million because it's cheaper. While there is hype for it, it's more or less focused around just the this more niche fandom rather than the whole comic book community. Because when Alphacore number 1 launched, that was like a big proving moment for the Ripaverse. So there was a lot of there's more attention on it than there otherwise would have been. Because you're still riding off this wave of ISOM 1 and 2, and then you got the first non-ISOM Ripaverse book. It's like, how is that going to do? And it did pretty well, I would say, making over $1 million. And the fact that this book is most likely Alphacore number 2 going to make well over $100,000. I imagine it's going to make between $200,000 and $300,000 during its run. And during its lifetime, it's probably going to make $500,000 before it becomes part of the collected edition. And again, once Alphacore 3 comes out, you're going to get the definitive Alphacore most likely as well. So that's going to be the cool thing there. But that really is the big news there. And of course, we've got just more fantastic art from Joe Bennett. Of course, sure, that's Mick Davies. But you definitely got, I think it's Cindy. That's her name. I can't remember. I was like, I'm pointing at the screen, like you guys can see my freaking finger. But anyways, the Eagle's Nest. This is what the story is going to focus around. The big fallout from Alphacore number 1. Yeah. Also, I heard something about discounts during pre-orders, and I do believe that is the case. If you see, let's see if we can zoom in right here. So if you guys can see, you see this, and we're going to go full screen so you guys can see, like, look, 9% off, 5% off on the books themselves. So that's the thing right there, is that we've got those discounts, my guys. I'm not sure if it's just for members because I am an Ultra Mac, as you guys can see. I pay the the $50 a month for the free shipping and everything, which honestly, is like I'm going to get discount with the amount of. I think that they're probably losing money with the amount of crap they ship to me. But I'm here for it, man. So I'm not sure if it's just for members, or if it's just something they're doing for the entire campaign. And again, I spent over $100, so I got like another Alphacore cover 1. So this big giveaway, like once I get like all the stuff, man, it's going to be big, man, because I'm going to have like copies of Saints and Sinners, a deck of Tokumon cards, the extra one from the ISOM action figure collection. So it's going to be a pretty big giveaway. I'm going to have a lot of fun doing it. Just got to figure out how to like get you guys to enter it. But anyways, that is the, I would say, thing right there is with I don't know what I'm even saying right now, but Alpha Core number 2 is definitely going to be an exciting one. And that's the thing is I'm just excited to read this book. I'm excited to see what what happens next with the Alpha Core. I'm also really excited to see just exactly what this book is going to mention that makes it justify that it came out this long in between 1 and 2, because that's what Andrew said. If you are someone who's watched the streams, Andrew said on one of my streams, I believe that when you read this book, you're going to understand why Alphacore came out. Alphacore 2 had this placement on the release schedule. I'm excited for that. So really, this is a book I'm just excited to read. First and foremost, and of course, Joe Bennett's art is it's just chef's kiss. It's always chef's kiss, and this does seem to be. Not sure. Let's see. Sure if this is a 56 page or not. We can go to Of course, we got the Alphacore beanie, but that's something that's been sold before. So it's including a lot of evergreen Alphacore merch, which I like. So this is going to be a 64 pager, guys, which is I think a pretty decent length. Of course, the first Alphacore was 96. So like I said, that 56 to 96 page range is where they're settled into, and they're going on that lower end. So we're seeing 56, we're seeing 64, sometimes in the 70s, but 64 is a pretty good length. So I'm good with that. So can't wait for Alphacore 2, one of my most anticipated books, CJ. And honestly, to me, this has definitely been my most anticipated book. So we're getting this in quarter 1 26. So it's going to be shipping most likely by the end of March, because it's when the first quarter of 2026 ends. We'll see if it's closer to the spring or let's say the winter time, right? Because winter encompasses December. It's from December to basically the end of March, March 21st. So we'll see if it's like how Yaira was, where it launched in the winter, but the very basically the week before winter ended, because March 11th that year. It was still winter, but it was the tail end of winter. Yeah, it's about 20 page regular issues. Yeah, which is still a lot less content than you would usually get in that time period if we're talking about a monthly series. But it's going to really hold us over for a good long while, and it's going to give the fans a lot of what they've been wanting from Alphacore. And again, of course, Alphacore has made many appearances throughout the Rippaverse. They've been like the consistent thread that's been strung along the Rippaverse. And while that's fantastic, that is really cool, it's not an adequate replacement for Alphacore number 2, but we're finally getting Alphacore number 2. So I'm really not complaining. They are going at everything in their own due time, and they definitely have this fan-centered focus on the Rippaverse. But of course, a lot of people watching on Twitter, which very happy to see that. I think most of the people who watch on Twitter, they just like to lurk, which is okay. Let's see. I believe Andrew said the wait from issue 2 to 3 will be shorter, similar to how 1 and 2 were for Horseman. Yeah, and I probably said that, and I think that's going to make sense because Joe and Chuck are going to be on a really tight production schedule, whatever you want to call it. They'll have their production down pat, and probably going to get more Zalen. But I imagine the focus is going to be on Alphacore and Horseman, because those are confirmed to be ongoing series. And Zalen is one that they probably were exploring for a little bit before either making the call to do so or not to do so. So we'll see how that turns out. So I think we'll get more Zalen, but probably what we'll get is a Zalen limited series that gives us some insight into the character of Zalen. But I don't think we're going to get a full ongoing series. It could be that happens because Joe is a workhorse, and I think he wants to do a Zalen ongoing series, and there's enough interest from the fans to do that. But it might be something where they want to focus really intensely on building up the issue count for Horseman and Alphacore before giving Joe more of that work. So you could let's say we get both Horseman and Alphacore like 5 issues, right? And then it's like we can start a Zalen ongoing series, and then we can like chill the release schedules for those back a little bit and have Chuck and Joe really focus on getting like Zalen out and running, and the fans will have like enough Horsemen and Alphacore to keep them hold over while that's happening. It's just me speculating. Let's see. So I'm curious, this is CJ saying, I'm curious to see Alphacore dealing with more micromanagement and public scrutiny after the end of Alphacore 1. And yeah, that's the exciting thing. So everything is just going to be the fallout from, let's see if we can go Alphacore number 2. We can go and X on that. And I don't know, like sometimes I break into the Twitter algorithm. We've got like Student of God retweeting me. But I just don't know why, like sometimes like I break out into the Twitter algorithm and I get people watching me for whatever reason. I'm grateful for it. You guys ought to subscribe, like YouTube, follow me on Twitter, check out the Substack, because I have a lot of content on the Substack. I've got a bunch of comics I need to review, but I don't talk just about Rippaverse, especially with like comic books. No, especially stuff outside of comic books, because there's a bunch of stuff I talk about that aren't comic books, and then even with the comic book stuff, I have reviewed books that aren't Rippaverse books. I just talk like mostly like Rippaverse is like the biggest thing I talk about because I'm really invested in it. But anyways, to get back into it, get into a tangent, and I got into a non-Roman Empire related tangent. I'm a little bit proud of myself for that. But anyways, this is the one when I do the recorded episode, and the pictures I have printed, they're a bit washed out because my printer is, being temperamental, or I was just using that. Oh, we've got Andrew on the stage. How? And I removed him from the stage. There you go. I apologize. How are you doing, good sir?
I take time out of my evening to jump in here. I just finished work. I'm having a glass of wine. I'd say, I'll pop in and say hi. What happened? You kicked me out right away.
Yeah, no, I clicked it and then I thought,
man,
it's all good. But yes,
no respect. I don't get no respect.
I'm very disrespectful, man. Well, again, Andrew, if you got Alphacore 2 in a more timely fashion, I wouldn't have done that to you.
Oh yeah, because that was on me. That was
it was exactly on me.
Our schedule, which is very loose, was not made by me. However, there was a reason, and I've been saying,
you're just saving face, man.
I've been saying for months that the release timing for Alphacore number 2 was very deliberate. It was intentional. There are reasons for that. When you guys get your hands on it and some other books, it's all going to make sense. And you guys are going to enjoy it. This book is a ton of fun. Does everything that Alphacore 1 did, but better. And Joe Bennett cranked it up a notch on the art because he's been having a blast on Horseman, doing Zaneland, obviously. But there's a new character introduced in Alphacore that when he first read the script and saw the concept art for, he said, I'm really going to like drawing this character. So I think you guys are going to have a good time with it. I had a good time with it.
So you're not going to NDA, but I'm thinking that
of course I won't.
It's this guy right here. You're not going to confirm or deny.
It's not that guy.
Okay. But yeah, that's going to be cool. Let's see. So Student of God is accusing you of being a wine mom. You had a little bit too much Franzia before you came on the stream, I suppose.
No.
No. Let's see. So yeah, you manage the talent, don't you? Give us our Aloha core. Yeah, I'm not sure if he spelled. Yeah, he said Alpha core, not Aloha core. You meant to say that.
I'll take Aloha core. That's fine.
Yeah, Aloha core.
That's the Maui version of the team.
Yeah, that'd be fun. So CJ is saying, I definitely want more of Chuck's Forest Park related stories like Alphacore and Horseman than Zalen, which feels a bit removed from the main action. Yeah, I don't entirely disagree, which is why I think Zalen would work as like a mini series, because there's more to Zalen's character that we ought to know. But I think, like CJ is saying, it's definitely something that's really out there compared to the rest of the Rippaverse. So having like a free issue miniseries that gives us more insight into Zalen and helps link him to the broader Rippaverse, I think is something that's justified. But like a full ongoing series might take a little bit too much out of Joe and Chuck. And I think that's how a decent amount of the fandom feels. Let's see. Ram just got out of Mass. Nice to see you, and I'm glad you're enjoying the stream. Nice to see you because he's a regular. But anyways, yeah, both. Let's see. Both work. Either Aloha Core or Alpha Core.
Okay, why not?
But anyways, and Garfield's also looking forward to Blue Shift, so because that's upcoming. So I believe the pre-orders for Ripazine 5 closed, and I'm sure
You can
that
still order it. It is currently in queue at the printer, so it's in process, in cycle. Hopefully, we'll have that at the warehouse for lucky by the end of the month. That would be great. I'd be super happy about that. But we have a lot of things right now in queue at our printers. So I would have loved to have been able to bring those to SpaceCon in San Antonio at the end of this month, but it just didn't kind of work out that way, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. But anyways, I'm going to be excited to read that one because that'll be a fun one. Like I always do, is I review the entire Ripazine as an episode of Braxcast.
I'm looking forward to checking it out.
Yeah, but the last one I did, I actually interviewed Jay Brown, and I had the Ripazine, so I called it a double issue, where I went through the Ripazine, and then I attached my Jay Brown interview, which was really cool. He's a really cool guy to talk to.
He's a great guy, and he's a very talented colorist. He colors a lot for us.
Yeah, and he was doing this. He was coloring like back in like the late 80s, early 90s, from my understanding. He was talking about like doing it before like Photoshop was a thing, like the old-fashioned way.
Oh yeah,
but, yeah. So that guy's got like decades of experience, and it really shows on all the work that he does. But anyways, I think there's this one thing I want to talk about. There's been a lot of video game talk with the Rippaverse, and video games are definitely known to be cost intensive. Of course, you can do them in ways.
Understatement.
Yes, yeah, you can do them in ways that are cheaper to make. Of course, Hollow Knight was made, or Hollow Knight and whatever the sequel, Silk Song, were both made. Team Cherry, like 3 people, doesn't take that much. It's more time intensive than cost intensive. But anyways, a card game would be a lot cheaper to do. And of course, we've got Dokumon's archives, so I think it would work really well if you had like a Dokumon Rippaverse card game. Has there been any talk about getting into like the board game, the TTRPG, the CCG market from you guys that, of course, you're willing to talk about and divulge? And if you're not willing to NDA, what are like the material barriers to getting into this?
It's less a matter of material barriers, as much as it is a demographic pool barrier. So people got to realize comic books are already a very niche entertainment medium, right? And then obviously within that medium, you have various genres, some of which are going to be more widespread than others, like your more traditional superheroes, like your even ISOM and Alphacore have their own twists on that. So maybe, I guess, toot my own horn, something like what Blue Shift is intended to be, that's more traditional, kind of very widespread audience, being the target audience type of a genre. Then you have genres like horror and things like that, or detective stuff. That's all more niche, right? When you're talking things like tabletop RPGs, TCGs, that stuff's also extremely niche. And so we are currently pitching to a niche market already. So yes, there's definitely some crossover between comic book fans and tabletop RPG fans and TCG fans. I'm a longtime D&D player. I used to play a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! And a lot of the Pokemon TCG. In fact, I used to run a league back in California for Pokemon. But that's still going to be another niche, like another level of niche. It's another degree of separation from a more widespread audience, right? So it's not just the cost of materials. You can find materials and get materials for that kind of thing. I won't say easily, but without too much work. A lot of it really comes down to, is there enough of an audience to justify that right now? Is there enough within our built-in audience right now? So the people who are actually seeing our stuff come across their feeds on X, on Facebook, on Instagram, YouTube feeds? Are they getting our email newsletter? Are they seeing our ads on Google? Whatever it is, how much of those people are actually going to end up being tabletop RPG players, TCG players? So it's really a balance right now. And we don't want to get ahead of ourselves. Eric has said this a number of times. We don't want to bite off more than we can chew. Right. And so we're already right now ramping up our production line a lot when it comes to book releases, which first and foremost, we're a comic book publisher. Right. So that's where the focus is going to be. We are open to doing those other things. It's a matter of making it make sense.
Yeah, no, that makes sense to me. As I figured when you've talked about doing stuff like this, it's more or less just finding the market for it. So I think these things are all really cool, but like when they become financially feasible is when you have like a big brand power. And the Riververse is a decently sized brand at this point, but it's not to the degree of brand power that Marvel and DC have, even
No,
with all the
we're a
like
micro
over
fraction of them right now.
yeah, even with all the overtime work that Marvel, DC, the corporals have done to destroy those brands, they still have a lot of staying power in the popular culture, and they can have this massive appeal. The Riververse is like building that up, and God willing, it'll be like it could be like that in like 10, 20 years down the line. But it's something that it takes a process to get there. But
Correct.
yeah, I do think a video game would do rather well, and you can make something. That is going to be much more cost effective. And like I said, made like something like after like Contra, after like Double Dragon, it's not going to be nearly as expensive as like other video games are to make. So I think that probably would be the best bet. And doing like these games that have like physical distribution that require there to be like a network of people to effectively play them is probably one where you want to wait. And
Oh,
of
we
course,
won't be going through limited run games, that's for sure.
oh, exactly. Yeah, certainly so. Yeah, the Liberty Run game's no good. It ended well for Kara, right?
It
But
did. It ended
yeah,
well for us because we got Kara.
exactly. Yeah, she's
She's
fantastic.
ours now.
Yeah, and she does fantastic work. Let's see. Yeah, Streets of Rage 4 type of game would be awesome. That's what Garfield is saying.
Eric's talked about that, like a Streets of Rage or your old TMNT games from the Super Nintendo and Genesis era, that kind of stuff. Like that's what we would likely be targeting. And he's talked about this on streams before. Like if we're gonna do a video game fairly early in our life cycle here, that's more or less the genre we'd be aiming for.
Yeah, no, I think so, and I think honestly, if you do it right, you could get the Rippaverse to a whole new audience. You could make a lot of money off of it, and then that could just bankroll more expensive projects. But anyways, Ram is gone. He is going to catch a replay later. Thanks for stopping by for as long as you did, which is always nice. But we've got really this big thing was like, of course, the Alphacore #2, and it's like I always go through stuff really quickly. Like I like to be very succinct, so I'm not good at like filling in dead air. But anyways, it's just really cool that we're finally at this stage with Alphacore #2. Riververse is really heating up, and of course, I think you guys did a really good job, especially in comparison to how Alphacore #1 launched to this one, without like no site issues or anything like that. So you got the steroid hamsters working overtime, and you have had them for doing that for a while. Always love that. So yeah, an iconic versus Riververse fighting game would be dope. That would be a fun thing to see. Have like Common America versus like Ingrid, or
Have it basically be like the old Marvel versus Capcom games, or
yeah,
SNK versus Capcom, or Tatsunoko versus all that stuff. Like
yeah.
that would be pretty rad.
That would be a cool thing to do. And honestly, I mean, iconic comics are doing quite well.
They're doing
Um,
fantastic.
yeah, and honestly, the Japanese they love the fighting games as well. Street Fighter is big in Japan, of course, because it was Capcom, and Capcom made the arcade cabinets for the Japanese and the Americans. Back way back when in the '90s, when I was just like a glint in my father's eye. Make you feel old, man. But
Yeah.
anyways, it's got a real nice history of I say fighting games have a popularity in Japan. So I could imagine if you did an iconic versus Rippaverse game and you had a Japanese translation that came like day and date or within like 6 months of like the English release, yeah, I think it would do well in Japan. Um, because again, Tim Lim, Mark Pellegrini, they know what works for not just the comic book audience, but for the what makes manga appealing, and they combine the two
No,
very nicely.
absolutely. I'm
So
a big fan of everything that they do.
yeah, and
I've
we
got all the
got
volumes of Common America so far, and I've got the manga. I've got both covers.
yeah. No, I have the manga. I need to read Alpha. I need to read and review Alpha. Because I'm so freaking behind on reading and review that. Let's see. I want to feel really old. We're closer to 2050 than we are 2000. We're actually like equal at that equal point. But yeah, actually technically now we're closer to 2050 than we are the year
I was going to
2000.
say we're in October now, so I think
Yeah.
he is correct.
Yeah, he is 100% correct. Which, again, I mean, but yeah, no, I'm starting to feel like an old man. I don't relate to college kids anymore because I didn't have ChatGPT back then to write my essays. Um, I'm complaining about my power bill and my rent being so damn high. I'm planning like, I need to go to the grocery store tomorrow and pick some stuff up. I gotta like vacuum. I gotta do my laundry. So like
Adulting.
yeah, kind of.
Being an adult.
I hate the term adulting. I despise it. It is such a millennial thing. Like I'm just do. I just hate that. I hate that term. It's like yeah, this is what like you got to keep yourself functioning as a person. And no one's going to do it for you. But anyways, that's my tangent there. But the big thing is with Alphacore number 2. It's the fallout after the destruction of the Eagle's Nest, Wilkins' death, and then the Alphacore being radically reconsidered as like, are they worth more than they do good? And that's something that was kind of alluded to in the first issue of Alphacore. That's how the rest of the police department felt. And Garfield agrees with me. Adulting sounds retarded. I 100% agree, man. It's such
It's
a
fine.
stupid,
You can have that opinion.
It's such a stupid term, man.
I like turning almost anything into a verb, so I'm okay with it. It doesn't
Okay,
bother
yeah,
me.
that's but it's such a millennial.
Like I'll
term,
say
man.
I'm gymming.
Yeah, okay. You just go to the gym, man. Like you don't need to like say I'm gymming. Like it's so stupid.
Or I could say it because I like it.
I mean, you can. It's a free country, but I'm also free to not like it. So
that's fine.
But anyways, I still love you, man. Of course. But like I said, we'll keep this on topic with the Rippaverse. We'll be Rippaversing, right?
Yeah, that's fine. Rippa conversing.
Rippa conversing. It's a portmanteau of those two words. We're Rippaversing. But we'll like I said, try to keep this on Alphacore number 2. And Alphacore number 2 is, of course, this very highly anticipated book. And the thing that makes it most anticipated for me is that fallout with Eagle's Nest. And the fact that there's going to be not only within the Alphacore themselves, because I imagine all 3 of the members are going to be like, well, should we still even be doing this because of what happened? You're going to have the Forest Park Police Department who are going to say, well, they messed it up. Let's just get rid of them. And then you're going to have the general public that's going to be like, well, they boned things so badly. I don't want these freaks in my city. So they're going to have to deal with all 3 of those things. And then they're going to have to deal with whatever comes next. And of course, this new character that's getting introduced as well. So is that like a good synopsis of the issues there? If I'm understanding it, of course, you're only going to say so much because you're not going to NDA yourself.
I mean, you've got the log line in the description right there. I'd say that's somewhere in the ballpark.
Asking what will surprise us this most about Alphacore 2?
What will surprise you most about Alphacore 2? A particular character ends up getting a lot more time in the limelight than I think most people might expect. And I also think that one of the new villains that Chuck made is gonna is going to light a fire under people.
Interesting. So the real story is going to be Galvin and Billy Bob teaming up, maybe. But I love Billy Bob Quinn and his initials being BBQ. It just works so well for that character. And I just love in Alphacore #1 where his grandma just comes and just like gets him out of bed. It's like you got to go and do crime. Oh man, but that's probably it's like definitely like a pretty humorous moment. Yeah, lots of Braxwell. I'm hoping for lots of Braxwell, man, because he's my favorite character. He's always going to be. But anyways, I think that's like the biggest things I wanted to cover with Alphacore #2. Is just like the fallout from the events of Alphacore #1 because it was a pretty grandiose ending for Alphacore #1. Of course, Chuck built it up really well. He had 96 pages to do it, so that was a lot of pages. So, is there anything specifically from Alphacore #1 that if people are going to be rereading and looking through Alphacore #1 as this, they are going to get their hands on, I'm sure people are going to be doing that. Is there anything you want to point people towards in looking at Alphacore #1 that is going to be in Alphacore #2? Of course, you're probably not going to say anything, but anything specifically that you're willing to say if you kind of want to spill the beans?
That while there are certainly some officers within the FPD, Forest Park Police Department, who are staunchly opposed to Alphacore and then being like an official wing of the department. There are still some who are very much in support of them and appreciate them. And if you reread Alphacore 1, at least one or two of those will come to bear for sure.
Okay, that's an interesting one. So that's definitely something to look at. But yeah, that's definitely like before like I read Alphacore 2, probably like once I get the shipment, I'm gonna just either reread it fully or just skim over it just to get that fresh in my mind. Because I never reviewed Alphacore as a video review because it came out before I started doing video reviews. And I was able to catch up with ISOM 1 and 2 when I reviewed I did ISOM number 3 as like the ill-advised review. And I gave my thoughts on the whole ill-advised arc on video. And I'll do the Alphacore. It'll be the Alphacore overview, the video review. And that'll be reviewing 1 and 2 as a complete, like, as that set of books. That's the plan. And it'll be fun to do that. And then after that happens, I'll have done like a video review for every Ripper First book. Also, I see we do have another mystery poster. So of course
we do indeed.
So
this one's pretty wild.
This is by Will Conrad, fantastic artist.
Oh yeah, Will's incredible, and his work there makes me want to see him draw more Alphacore stuff too.
Yeah, no, I mean honestly, I want Will Conrad to do like a 96-page Bone God story with was it Critical Drinker who wrote that?
No, that was Mahler. Critical Drinker, Will Jordan wrote One Little Push.
Okay, yeah. I'm not super familiar.
Caleb Edmonds, aka Mahler, he did Bone God.
Yeah. But yeah, anyways, Bone God, I like that story. It just needs to be a 96-page story with the amount of thought that Mahler put into that script. He deserves to have like a 96-pager with Will Conrad because Will Conrad really he knocks out of the park on everything that he does. And he's so good at interior art. I loved his work on Gooding. So I'd love to just see more of like him just like going, especially with like the stuff that goes on in Bone God. It'd be really cool to see like all the like the caves and like the university, because you would want to have like a scene where I forgot the names, but basically you have like Adam and his sons and his ex-wife all arguing at the university, and then they agree to go and do this stuff. It's just like you get that set up and you get that characterization, which I think the story really needed to be as good as I think Mahler would have wanted it to have been. But it still was really good for what we got. And of course, Garfield loves Bone God. It's his favorite book. Agree. The long man needs all the pages. Yes, he does need the pages. Which again, I think that's the biggest thing that held Bone God back. It's not that
There's there's a lot to be said about being able to tell a story with page constraints, with um, a finite amount of page real estate that you have to work with. You are assigned X number of pages. You got to be able to tell a story within this number of pages. Anybody could tell a story if they had unlimited time and unlimited pages, right? It's a lot more impressive to be able to tell something by a deadline and tell it within a limitation. Limitations are what push us to get better. That's why I am so appreciative of being pushed to write more short stories by Caro, because it's helped me improve my writing demonstrably.
Yeah,
There's
no.
been a marked improvement in my writing when it comes to pacing.
Yeah, no, definitely. Um, yeah, no, I think that the Saskas are really good with the short story format. Because I read
Yeah, the
Underdog.
underdog was great.
Yeah, and that's a complete. So like, that and Catch and Kill, like you read them and you felt like you've read a full comic. Like it doesn't feel
Mhm.
like 16. It feels a lot more than 16 pages. Um,
Feels close to the 22, 24 page count for a standard comic.
Yeah, yeah. And so it's really good on that basis. But yeah, no, writing short stories, writing within like, you only have to do like you can only tell a story in so many words or so many pages. It definitely helps you as a writer. But my whole point with Bone God is that while Mahler did something that was pretty interesting, it's like, well, there's so much going on with the story. It's justified in having that 96 page, because I would love to see the 96 page version of Bone God, because it would give us a lot of really good insight into what a Mahler's thought process is with those characters. And also you get to see that exposition, you get to see that build up, you get to see a lot more of that scene, and having like, a good like 80 pages or so, and then those being like the last 16 pages would feel like a much more satisfying story to me. But with what we got with Bone God was pretty good. And I liked all of the Saints and Sinners short stories. And like I said, with it being an anthology, you can take more risks in being something like, we're going to like tease the idea of a short story, of a full story, rather than trying to tell something that's really tight and constrained. The Saskas did it with Underdog, but it was something that like the other stories were relying more on the other stories to kind of like prop them up. And I think I think most people like the way Saints and Sinners was done. I think everybody did a knockout job on that. So Caro's Dirty Deeds from Ripazine Free is probably the best short format story we've gotten so far. Yeah, Dirty Deeds was a great story as well. So Caro wrote a great script, and that feels like a very self-contained story as well.
Caro understands short stories very well.
Yeah, she
very, very well.
She certainly does. Yeah, so we've been, or I guess I've been, and you've come on for about an hour or so. So is there anything else we should cover with Alphacore number 2? Because if not, then I think I'm ready to call it a night, and just let everybody go and enjoy the weekend, because I don't have like too much else to talk about, because there's only so much we can go and speculate, or at least I can, and you can just say that's NDA. But anything else that you want the fans to take away with Alphacore, not only with Alphacore number 2, but the future after Alphacore number 2, because there's still some more books that have to be released based on the Rip Reveal. But I think we're almost like basically having all those books being out on pre-order. So what's next for the Rippaverse that you can divulge? You can be as general as you want, and what should fans be looking forward to now that we've hit this milestone?
Well, you can be looking forward to an unannounced title that was also technically part of one of the milestones for, I believe, Saints and Sinners. So there's going to be an upcoming unannounced title here very soon. The other books are absolutely coming from the Rip Reveal. I would, however, stress that Alphacore 2 is going to be a pretty important book moving forward for not just Alphacore's ongoing. On top of that, if you guys have not already, please check out the Ripazine collection. So if you're whether you're just missing one or two of the Ripazines so far, whatever the reason was, you missed out on one of them or just weren't interested initially at the time, this is a great time to dive in, grab the soft cover or grab the hardcover. And you will get a teaser to a special story created by Zachary Levi, aka Shazam. So that's a super fun story. The art's great, the story's great, the character that's introduced is super interesting. It actually introduces more than one character, but I'm not going to say anything else about that. But this is a worthwhile teaser, and I think it's something that's going to be really fun going forward. Beyond that, we've got SpaceCon in San Antonio at the end of this month. So if you guys happen to find yourself in the San Antonio area, or if it's within a reasonable driving distance for you, or shoot, maybe you already made plans to go there, we look forward to seeing you. Hope we get to shake your hand. Hope we get to chat Rippaverse stuff with you, or just shoot the breeze geek wise in general. Thank you so much, everybody, for all of your support.
Okay, so one last question we've got. Will we be getting a Spingy plushie?
Bully Eric. I'm not in charge of that. Caro is not even in charge of that. We both want to do a Spingy plushie, especially one with like the arms that have like the wire inserts in them so you can have it cling on to stuff, right? Bully Eric.
Okay.
Whether it's in his live stream chats, whether it's in the comments of videos, whether it's on Twitter or wherever else, bully the crap out of Eric for that.
Okay. Message loud and clear, but that would be a fun thing to get. But yeah, anyways, like I said, just about an hour or so. So I think it's good to cut it off here. And thank you for coming on. Always
of course, man.
Yeah, always love it when you come on. But I'm going to call it a night now. Hopefully you guys have a fantastic weekend, but we are out. And